Welcome to The Journey. My name is Kevin Polky, and I am the host of The Journey. And last week, we were wrapping up a series on techniques regarding mindfulness. And I thought we would be finishing up that series, but I think I had one more pieces of information that I wanted to share with you. And that is, as we've talked about this idea of when we find ourselves in a fight or flight situation, when we perceive something as a threat, what can we do so as to be able to kind of balance out? Let me explain a little bit. For the longest time, I thought just being aware of what our bodies and how our bodies respond to a stressor, I thought that in itself would be enough for us to make different choices and our body to respond differently. After studying two sisters' research, Amelia and Emily Nagoski, and in their work on burnout and completing the threat response cycle, I discovered and now have been teaching the findings in their work. This idea that our autonomic nervous system, which is connected to the amygdala, is primarily designed for us and survival. And that worked wonderful at an earlier time period in our species existence, when there was more physical threats, like a lion or a bear or a tiger or wolf, or even, for that matter, another human, where there'd be a physical threat. We would respond with adrenaline and cortisol, and then we would either fight off that predator or enemy, or we would run away. And the fighting it and running away would then, after that was done, after we successfully ran away from the bear or killed the bear or whatever it may have been, there would have been this natural counterbalance to it to balance our lives out, would be this parasympathetic, which would then kick in rest and digest. So imagine that you would, at another time period, you were a hunter or on a war party, or some type of threat existed. You then either fought or escaped that. You come back to the village, and you then tell stories about what happened with the encounter of this threat, this enemy, or this animal. And then you would tell stories about how you did such a good job getting away with it or whatever, and there'd be a celebration because of your victory or your escape, and a natural process of your body going into rest and digest would kick in. In modern times, in 2023, the majority of times our threats are not physical threats. The majority of time they are mental or emotional threats. It could be something that has happened in the past and we're still thinking about it, or something that we project into the future that could happen. Either way, we are activated with the same chemicals of adrenaline, but we don't necessarily have anything to escape from or anything to fight, or at least that would be socially appropriate. So where do those chemicals go? Well, this is where the sisters talk about that it's our responsibility to manage that stress level and complete the threat response cycle. It doesn't change anything, meaning what we perceive as a stress. It just changes how we are viewing it and how we respond to it. And most importantly, the chemicals in our body are no longer active. In other words, we burn those chemicals off. For me, my number one go-to is movement. As you've heard me talk about, that normally I exercise in the morning and get my workout in the morning. But if I come home from work, and even though I'm physically home and I'm not present, that is when I know that I'll either take the dog for a walk, go down and into my home gym and do another 20-minute workout. Not because I think it's going to change what what is the perceived threat, but it'll be burn those chemicals off. So it'll increase my opportunity to have a better quality sleep, and most importantly, opportunity to have to be present with Diane. But not everyone is going to utilize exercise. Another way of activating the parasympathetic nervous system is doing something that is creative. It could be an adult coloring book. It could be making a craft. It could be doing something as simple as putting together a puzzle. This is another thing that is able to channel and burn those chemicals off. Somebody else may prefer to use humor as their go-to, and so they may watch a comedian or a funny movie or a video, and that activates the parasympathetic nervous system. If you can find someone that you can have space with, that you can allow yourself to be vulnerable with, crying is not only a physical release, but then also an emotional release. The oxytocin that is released in the opportunity of a physical embrace is another way of releasing those chemicals and burning those chemicals off. And then the sixth um, uh, way of activating the parasympathetic nervous system that research has found is the use of breathing techniques. And we've talked about this before with the tactical breathing, or sometimes referred to as combat breathing or box breathing. And as I mentioned in the previous episode, using in combination that box breathing as well as tapping is a way of activating the parasympathetic nervous system. It is true that we are not always going to be able to control the stressors in our lives, but we do have a responsibility to manage our stress levels. And our loved ones, the people in our life, deserve for us to be present, and you deserve to be able to have to be present with your loved ones and your friends, and provide an opportunity to burn those chemicals off so that you can have a quality sleep when it's time for you to rest. I would encourage you to have a couple different tools in your toolkit when you feel those chemicals that have been activated as a result of something being threatening to you. It makes sure that you take it upon yourself to burn off those chemicals and complete that threat response cycle by activating the parasympathetic nervous system. As always, I appreciate you listening, and appreciate you utilizing these techniques to have a better quality life and to be the healthiest version of you. Look forward to being with you next week.